Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome back for another more than weekly edition of Z Real Estate's discussion on Z Real Estate, where we discuss special properties, hot deals, great investment opportunities, and much, much more. So this week we'll be focusing on blind offers, what they are, why nobody really likes them, and why, as a buyer, I would highly, highly recommend against making a blind offer. Now, investors love making blind offers. First off, what is a blind offer? A blind offer is an offer from somebody that has never seen the property. That's called a blind offer. They're making the offer blind, without seeing it. Now, does it make sense that somebody would ever buy a house without seeing it? Regardless of how much money they have, or how many millions in the bank, or how many properties they purchased, guess what? Nobody buys property sight unseen. Nobody. They do, however, make offers sight unseen. Why? Because in their mind, this saves them a tremendous amount of time. So let's say, for example, they're thinking about making an offer for $60,000 on a property, and they don't want to go out there and look at the property and decide if it's worth it and then say, you know what, I will pay 60 grand for this and make the offer, only for the offer to have no chance in hell of ever being accepted. So what they'll do is they'll make a blind offer, and they churn them on the factory line. They may make 4 or 5 blind offers a day. And then at the end of the week, they will review all the offers that have been accepted quickly, very quickly, then go themselves or send somebody out to the property to look at, 1, the condition, 2, contract price, in order to make a determination of 3, whether or not they will be proceeding with this deal at the contract terms. Now, as a listing agent, what I can tell you is it's very, very unfair to any of my clients, and I would highly discourage anyone from making a blind offer. As an agent out there, what I can tell you is, for those of you that are coming back with, I'm just doing what my client asked me to do, you should know that this is actually a very small community. The realtors do know each other. And for those that have just recently got your license and think, what are the odds I'm going to ever run into this person again? Wait 10 years. Tell me how you feel then. You're going to cross paths with the same realtors over and over and over again. And I can promise you, the ones you burned or the ones you left a bad taste in their mouths will remember you. That being said, try at the very least to be civil, ladies and gentlemen. After all, that's what this business is all about. Being polite and doing our job to be the utmost, to be the best fiduciary we can for our clients. Now, here's why a blind offer is, in my opinion, also a tremendous waste of time for the buyer, okay? I have several properties that, in my opinion, are grossly overpriced. A couple bank repos, I'm not going to name the addresses, I'm not going to name the banks. But one of them in particular is completely burned. Yeah, completely burned up on the inside. All crispy, charred, and black. And it's listed for 100 grand, which on paper is a pretty good deal. I can promise you, when you get in and look at it and realize exactly how much work is needed in order to now bring this burned property up to marketable, livable standards, you will immediately realize there's no money in the deal, at least for a flipper, and it certainly wouldn't make sense. So I can't tell you how many times I've gotten offers. Oh yeah, well, you know, this is an investor from a client who's bought in lots of properties. He's an investor and he knows what he's doing. He's comfortable with this price. Okay. Really? Because what's the first thing that's going to happen if his comfortable offer at this price gets accepted? He'll drive right over the property and decide if he wants it back out or not. How is that fair to me? How is that fair to my client? It's not. So why do I say that this is also a waste of time for the buyer? Because in many cases, if you just went to the property and looked at it, you could say, you know what? I wouldn't take this house if they gave it to me for free. I wouldn't pay $10 for this property, let alone $100,000 or whatever it is. And guess what? You'd save yourself time of writing an offer, even if it is a factory-generated offer that's cookie cutter and copy and pasted from the, massive offers that you make every week. Now, making a blind offer, is, as I mentioned, it's discouraged. I can certainly appreciate the need to do so, at least from the investor standpoint. As we mentioned last week, one of the biggest problems with flipping, at least in today's market, when you're trying to make money, is the competition. You're going up against these large real estate investment trusts, hedge funds, conglomerates, if you will, that have their system fine-tuned so much so that they're able to operate on a 5% profit margin. So when the margins are so small, there really isn't a lot of time to go out there and pick the perfect property, because what's going to happen if you do that? If you look at 100 homes and you pick the best ones that you want, realistically, by the time you make offers on those, they'll be gone. So, as much as I can appreciate the need to make a blind offer, there's really no shortcut to traditional old-fashioned real estate. That's it, folks. You got a client that wants a house, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to earn that commission. Go show the house. Ask the buyer if he likes it. If the buyer's a seasoned investor, say, great, do you know the house burned? Are you familiar with that? Do you still want to buy it at that price? Because, you know, those buyers that will get under contract and immediately back out, what are the odds they're ever going to run into that seller again? If it's a private standard sale, probably not. Will they see that realtor again? Probably. Now, if the buyer is backing out on an institutional client, like a B of A or a Chase or a Wells Fargo, for example, what are the odds you're going to make an offer on another one of that lender's assets? Probably pretty high. And do you think the bank is going to remember you? If your answer is no, you're naive. They certainly do remember, and they will have a list compiled of their savvy investors that back out in a moment's notice. So, if you're going to make a blind offer and try to convince me that the buyer is a seasoned investor who knows what they're doing and I should present the offer despite the fact that the buyer hasn't seen it, okay, I will do that on one stipulation. You then send me a letter saying the buyer promises he will not look at the property until after it closes. That way, no matter what he sees, it's fine, right? Because to then go look at the property and make a judgment call or a determination about whether he wants to proceed is not fair, as I've mentioned. So, I will present the blind offer if it will also be a blind close. Make sense? Fair is fair, right, guys? Okay, so, in a nutshell, we talked about blind offers, why to avoid them, and why to really pay attention to the other realtors in this business. Those are going to be your colleagues. The ones that you think won't amount to anything, you'd be very, very surprised where they will be in a couple of years. Take it from me. And try not to burn any bridges. And I'm speaking to the investors out there that manufacture hundreds of offers a week. I can't tell you how many of them I get, and most of them I've seen, and I recognize their names. So I know who you guys are, and you send me those offers all the time. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we're going to have another video coming up very shortly on real estate disclosures and best practices. Thanks so much, everybody, and until next week, make it a great week.